This will be a quick tutorial for Cinema4D Release 12 to show you how to work with lights inside of objects, visible light, as well as just a really quick demonstration of global illumination and using HDR lighting. So to get started, I'm going to throw a floor in. That floor object, I'm going to go ahead and make a new material. That material is going to be black. Change the color to black. Under basic here, I'm going to add in some reflection. Set the reflection down around somewhere around 50%. So you can see what that looks like. You'll get a nice reflection, but still have some of the black color showing through. I'm going to drag that texture onto that material onto my floor. First thing I'm going to do next is to go ahead and create a sky object, and I want to set up an HDRI lighting scene. So Cinema comes with, if you have the studio version, Cinema comes with some preset textures. So I'm going to go into my content browser. Go ahead and go down to your visualize area, materials, and you should see an HDRI section. So you can choose one of these. I'm going to choose the wider of the two and go ahead and drag that onto my sky object. So if I render right now, you're going to see that I'm getting a rectangle that's a reflection of the sky with that HDRI object. So there's a little trick you can do to keep that from happening. Let's say you don't want to have your camera seeing that. See if I rotate my camera around and do another render, you can see that I'm seeing this image in the background, and I really don't want that. I just want to see black, the black floor. So I'm going to go to my sky object and give it a compositing tag. And in the compositing tag sections, I'm going to uncheck scene by camera. So right now that'll allow me to rotate up, and I'll have my black background. But you see I'm still getting the reflections. In this scene, I don't want my reflections to be reflecting the sky either, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck all of these things on this side. And now what you'll see is I'm just getting a black image, so that if I were to create, let's make a sphere, since that's what we're going to be working with today. If I create a sphere here and put it on the ground, now I'm just getting a reflection of that sphere. And it's pretty nicely lit by the HDRI object, no matter where I go. Okay, so that's a nice way to just quickly set up a scene that's going to light well, and it's got shadow casting and all the things you would expect with HDRI lighting. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is give this guy a glass material so that it has refraction and you can actually see through it. Back to the content browser, you'll notice just above HDRI there's a glass section. So I'm going to choose the glass, Germania, flint. There's different kinds of glass, so choose whatever one you'd like to use. Oops. Grab this, throw it on my sphere. There we go. Okay, so I have applied the glass shader to my sphere. Now when I render, I get this nice refraction going on from the glass. So you can see if I were to put an object in behind this and render, I am getting that refraction that you expect from glass. Okay, delete that. Now what I really want to do right now is to create a glowing glass ball with a light inside of it. So I could create a light right now. I'm going to just center that light manually in the middle of my glass orb. And if I render now, you can see that it is indeed lighting up the glass, and no matter which direction I turn, if I render, I'm getting that refraction happening in the light inside the sphere. That's not exactly what I want. I want to be able to see the light, and I don't want it to light up the entire scene. I only want it to go out a certain amount. So let's look at our light settings. First thing I'm going to do is just change the way the light lights things up. I'm going to go ahead and tell it that it can cast an area shadow. And I'm going to, under details, tell it to have fall off, that it's inverse square. Now you see that gives me this sphere that outside of my light that I can change. So that's how far this light extends. So you notice I put that there in render. Now the light is glowing inside that orb and only extending to a certain portion. That's a little still too much for me. I think I want to have it a little smaller, something like that. So we're getting this nice dim light inside. Another thing you can do is turn on visibility of the light. So we'll go back to the general settings. Under visible light, say visible. And again, you get these things so this is the inside diameter, and this is the outside diameter. So you can change that. You can also change those under the visibility section. So we can change the inner distance here, the outer distance here, and that'll tell us how big this light's going to be inside there. Okay. So now let's see what we get. Okay, so this is looking more like a glowing glass orb, like a crystal ball sort of a thing that I was trying to go for. So by playing around with that visibility, you get a little bit of a different effect. So it's all depending on what you're looking for. After you get your light the way you want, you can actually make it a child of your sphere, so that no matter where you move this sphere now, the light is inside it in its center. So I could now begin making multiple copies, and they will play off of each other, highlight each other, reflect each other. Last but not least, we want to turn on global illumination to truly get some nice effects. So I'll quickly let that render, show you what happens. So that concludes the brief demo on creating glowing orbs using a little bit of global illumination and visible light.